transitions to a discussion on the erosion of miserly values and the realization of open-hearted and open-handed values. And this is just Scrooge's realization that health is wealth. So Scrooge comes to the realization that possessing a profusion of money or capital, such as material goods and possessions, does not define true wealth in its fullness. True wealth, though it may partly include financial wealth, is broader in scope. It includes the health of the mind, body, and spirit. Such health does not depend solely on financial wealth. The realization that health is wealth dawns upon Scrooge through his experiences brought forth by the ghost of Christmas present, and in his internalizing of the messages that the Spirit teaches. These realizations begin to dawn upon Scrooge en route to his final destination during his guided experience with the ghost, the humble household of his nephew Fred. En route to Fred's, Scrooge is led by the ghost through several scenes where people are found in good health, celebrating the Christmas spirit in a manner that has nothing to do with financial affluence. This is particularly true of one family gathering that Scrooge oversees in a bleak and forbidden part of town that resembles a ghetto. Scrooge, witnesses a family spanning four generations, an old man and his wife, and their children, and the generations after that. Although this family is impoverished and lives in squalor, their good cheer and their good health more generally does not depend upon their being affluent in money, for their health and hence wealth transcends such affluence. Perhaps Scrooge witnessing these people brings him to the realization that real wealth does not lie in having an abundance of money, but in having an abundance of goodness and love in one's life. Upon arriving at Fred's house, Fred is identified by his hearty and incomparable laugh. Dickens notes that laughter is contagious like a disease, but unlike disease, laughter breeds health. Dickens again is pointing toward a more comprehensive and authentic conception of health. A more comprehensive and authentic conception of wealth. Wealth is health. Scrooge oversees Fred talking to the guests at his Christmas party about himself. Fred notes that Scrooge's unpleasantness is his own punishment, and that, in turning down Fred's invitation, he's missing out on the joys of shared meals, singing, and pleasant games. Scrooge, overhearing all of this and overseeing the joyful festivities of the Christmas party, continues to undergo transformations in his being that are contrary to his former naysaying self. He experiences a lightness of being, almost levitating, when he beholds the happy partygoers rejoicing together. In this newly liberated mood, he vicariously joins in the games being played, despite the fact that no one can hear him shout out the answers, all of which are correct. And among some of the games they're playing are a game called Blind Man's Buff, and a game of Yes and No. And, it was the game of Blind Man's Buff that Scrooge was guessing correctly to. Vicariously experiencing the joys of these Christmas festivities thus brings forth a positive change in Scrooge's personality, characterized by a lightheartedness and playfulness, qualities that stand in stark contrast to his former hard-hearted and dull self. Fred's words, moreover, convey both criticism and hope to Scrooge. Though Scrooge has not yet come to internalize and embody the spirit of Christmas, including the qualities of benevolence, Fred's criticisms and the hope that he has inspired within Scrooge have prompted him toward that direction. The messages he is beginning to internalize based on the witnessing of the happenings of the party: genuine and complete health is wealth. Health involves happiness which cannot be bought by money itself, but can be attained through giving and receiving love from friends and family, through generosity to the community, and through the enjoying of company of friends and family. And that people can be poor while at the same time being rich in happiness, and thus enjoy a kind of wealth not accessible through financial wealth alone. And I mean, the opposite is also the case. Conversely, people can be rich in money but destitute of happiness, like Scrooge. And this is confirmed by Fred on several occasions. So when Scrooge questions how Fred can be happy without wealth, Fred questions how Scrooge can be unhappy with his wealth. The implication here is that one can be happy without wealth and unhappy with wealth. Perhaps Scrooge's error is that he conflates financial wealth with health and well-being. Fred is clear to point out this error in Scrooge's thinking by noting the distinction that what is good and what is he points out this error in Scrooge's thinking by noting the distinction between what is good and what is profitable. So he says to Scrooge, "There are many things from which I have derived good, by which I have not profited." And on another occasion, Fred relates that Scrooge's wealth is of no use to him. He don't do any good with it. He don't make himself comfortable with it. He hasn't the satisfaction of thinking, ha ha ha, that he's ever going to benefit us with it. So, Fred and his fiancée are a case in point. They're not financially affluent like Scrooge, yet they seem to be happier than Scrooge. And as mentioned, Scrooge's error is that he conflates good with profit. And what makes for happiness and health more broadly is not merely money, but, it's things such as love. And love is, I suppose, a hedonic and a eudaimonic value. So love in all of its manifestations, as it manifests as philia in Fred and company, which is just sort of fellowship love, if you will, or as it manifests as agape in Bob Cratchit. Agape here being, this sort of unconditional parental love, or as it manifests as eros in the younger Scrooge, and eros here being more of a sort of a desire to, commune with the beloved. And so what also makes for genuine happiness is pleasure, which is a hedonic value. So enjoying good food and drink and games and music, enjoying the company of one's friends, especially as is seen in Fred and at Fred's party, is also a source of happiness. And then self-actualization, which is a eudaimonic value, is also a source of happiness. And this is becoming the self that you truly are. So this is Scrooge, for instance, becoming the virtuous being that he truly is. It's also modeled by other characters in the story. So Bob Cratchit and Fred serve as proxies or as models for Scrooge's own self-actualization. And in this regard, Bob Cratchit and the Cratchit family more generally represents an ethic centered on family and community. And this ethic's based on love or agape, self-sacrifice and sympathy. And a scene that's emblematic of this is the Cratchit family love feast. And this ethic, moreover, upholds a familial ideal that replaces the laissez-faire ideal of economic individualist seeking fulfillment on his own. So the mechanism of transformation here and the mechanism of self-actualization is that Cratchit guides his children to a life in the city similar to his own, and his example enables the reformed and fatherless Scrooge to become a second father to Tiny Tim and to adopt a role he has not known earlier in his life. So Scrooge enacts this pattern as he's transformed from a solitary oyster, seeking only his own self-interests, into Tiny Tim's second father. And Scrooge's good works will become the healing spring that transforms the kingdom of God, that transforms the city into the kingdom of God on earth.